This is how my miter saw dust collection has been. Yeah, horrible. But with the help of this little accessory and a new space-efficient miter saw station, my lungs are a lot happier. I made some very specific and unique design choices for this miter saw station cart to make my shop feel bigger. I am in a 198 square foot shop, so building shop furniture that saves space is essential, or essential, potato tomato. Now enjoy this very good acting as I pretend to cut these boards. Now this is going to shock you, so I hope you're sitting down, but that was actually me making the sound of that saw. I wanted to show you how to make the cut with a circular saw, but a track saw just leaves such a cleaner cut, so I'll be using the track saw throughout this build. Now for a lot of dados and rabbits, but I will not bore you by making you watch all of the cuts. And the key to a great dado is a perfect fit. This was a little loose, so I adjusted my dado stack and made another test cut, and this fit is much better, although it was a big mistake making it this perfect snug fit, but I'll get to that later in the video. I put painter's tape on my plywood before cutting the dados and rabbits, and it made a difference and there was less tear out. Was it a huge difference? No, but I always strive to make my projects as nice as possible, even if they're shop projects. I have been really neglecting my lungs so far as a woodworker, but I decided this year to change that. It's really easy to not prioritize dust collection when starting out because, at least in my head, the dust collection did not affect how good the furniture turned out in the end. That, along with the fact that dust collectors can be expensive and tools that have better dust collection are generally more expensive than tools with worse dust collection. I dry assembled this cabinet, meaning I assembled it without glue, on the same day that I cut those dados and rabbits, and that's an important fact to remember. And I am so happy because it went together so smoothly, but all that is going to change very soon. All this talk of proper dust collection, and I still have nothing on my track saw to collect the dust, and the dust still goes everywhere when I use it, but that is on my list of things to fix. Now that I know the exact dimensions that my upper and lower dividers need to be, I'm cutting those to their final dimensions, and now it is time to prep the cabinet for the glue up. Buckle up, people. I'll talk about why these pieces did not fit together well at all in a minute, but I first want to take you through some of the techniques that I busted out during this final assembly. These moves are pretty advanced, so make sure you've warmed up and stretched properly before utilizing them. First we have what I'm calling the closed fist pound. Then there's the open palm slap, followed by the hammer. And lastly, my personal favorite, the stomp. So what happened here? Well, I cut these dados 2 days ago, and what I didn't know is even over the course of just a couple days, dados can swell and your pieces which once fit perfectly do not fit anymore. I didn't know this and I've never had this issue in the past, but in the future, I'm going to make sure to assemble my cabinet on the same day that I cut my dados and rabbits to avoid this issue altogether. I actually felt really bad because I told my wife I would be inside in 30 minutes tops to help with the kids, and then 2 hours later, I'm still in the shop struggling with this cabinet. Here's another tip. If your lumberyard has a plywood product that is way cheaper than the other stuff they sell, which was the case with this piece of 1/4 inch plywood, don't buy it. The veneer was more like tissue paper than actual wood. It was unsandable and I had some issues with tear out. Other than it being absolutely horrible, it was actually pretty good. I attached the back panel to the cabinet using glue and a bunch of brad nails, which I hammered in by hand, and I don't have a nail gun because I don't use it enough to justify the purchase, and it's actually kind of fun to hammer in all those nails. Because I'm in a small shop, I need all of my shop furniture to be on wheels so that I can move them around as needed. I got 3-inch lockable casters, and you'll see in a little bit that these rolled around pretty dang smooth. Sorry for the language. But it's not the mobility that makes this cabinet pretty cool. It's the fact that I decided to attach foldable wings for cutting down long pieces of lumber. Sometimes I have long hardwood, and a huge miter saw station just isn't in the cards with the size of my shop. So I'm making 2 foldable wings that fold up when I need to cut long pieces of lumber and then fold down and out of the way when I'm not using my miter saw. When I started woodworking, I was under the impression that you needed to have a fence on your miter saw station. The woodworkers on YouTube said you need a fence to cut square pieces of wood. You need a fence to attach a stop block. And like the great horse I once knew named Geronimo, I say nay. In my opinion, the fence can just get in the way, and it actually can affect the squareness of your cut if it's not lined up perfectly. Oh, but don't you worry. I'll be adding something to these wings which will make it possible, and actually very easy, to attach a stop block for repeatable cuts. If you want to build what I'm calling the king-size miter saw station, and you don't want to have to figure out all the measurements and dimensions yourself, I have created detailed written and video plans for this build. Just go to thomascustomwoodworks.com, or you can click the link in the description below. I've designed the plans in a way that a beginner can build this no problem, and this miter saw station can be adaptable to pretty much any miter saw. I decided to put T-track in each of the wings so that I can use a stop lock easily when making repeatable cuts. And I found that I use a stop lock quite a bit because oftentimes when I'm building something, there are many components that need to be the exact same length. You probably saw, but I got some wobble on my router because I put the plywood on the wrong side of the router on my initial cuts, and then I moved the plywood to be on the left side of the router, which is where it should have been the entire time. So what else am I doing to save my lungs from fine wood dust? Well, I just got a new 1250 CFM dust collector, and I may do a video on it after I've had it a while, which I don't typically do, but let me know in the comments if you like watching tool review videos. I've used drawer slides before, and they're fine, they're cool, but I wanted to make some drawers that don't require that I buy more drawer slides. There are so many ways to make drawers, and I've made drawers a bunch of ways, but this way is really nice because it doesn't require drawer slides or a drawer face to go on top of the drawer front, so it requires less hardware and less plywood. I'm sneaking up on this rabbet, and I'm using a stop lock so that all the rest of the rabbets on the drawer fronts and drawer backs can be the exact same width. As I just said, there are so many different ways to make drawers, and there's so many different ways to do anything in woodworking, especially joinery. So how do you know when to use one technique over another, or when to use one type of joinery over another when you're making a project or designing a project? I have the same advice when people ask me what tool they should get next. I tell them, pick a project first, and then buy the tool or tools needed to build that project. Pick a project and then try a joinery method, and after you build more and more things, you'll be able to figure out what joinery you like best and what works best for certain projects. For shop projects, I'll use pocket holes a lot when I know that they won't be visible because I think they're ugly. Another question that I get quite a bit is what plywood do I use? And I use birch plywood a lot, and I'm using it here because it's affordable and I really like the grain patterns that are on it. Let's talk music for a second. One of my favorite bands is... A lot of people use Bloom door hinges, and I've used them before and they worked really well, but I wanted to try a slightly cheaper option, so I got these hinges online, and the company is Burda, and they worked really great. All right, let's see how these doors fit. Hey, looks pretty good. All right, what's behind door number 2? 1, 2. It's not bad either. Nice 1/8" reveal all the way around. That actually looks pretty good. This video is not sponsored and there will be no affiliate links in the description. I just like to share what products I've used that work well. I have a list of all the hardware and accessories that I've used in the written plans for this build, but if you don't want to buy the plans, that's totally fine. Just comment below any questions that you have about this build, and I'm happy to share everything that I've used. Here is how I've made this miter saw station adaptable to pretty much any saw, regardless of the table height of the saw. I'm clamping a flat piece of wood on my miter saw, in this case a piece of plywood, and then I'm lining up the foldable wing so that the top of the wing is flush with the plywood. This ensures that no matter what miter saw is being attached to the station, the wings will be in perfect alignment. This build is nice and mobile, the wings are all well and great, the dust collection is going to be a huge upgrade, which I'll get to in a little bit. But what if I don't want to take out my measuring tape every time I want to cut a piece of lumber to a specific length? I can't remember where I saw this, but I saw it somewhere and I thought it was so cool. So this will make measuring my work pieces a breeze. Okay, this part of the build gets me giddy because I'm so excited about it. I will be putting a shop vac in the lower right-hand compartment of the cabinet to help with dust collection. And because I'll have a shop vac in there, I need to drill a hole for the hose and for the cord, and then some ventilation holes because it will be enclosed with a door. But you may be saying to yourself, attaching a shop vac hose to your miter saw station doesn't really help with dust collection that much. Well, it does if you get a new dust port that was made specifically for your miter saw. Okay, this is so freaking cool. And I will provide a non-affiliate link to this product in the description because it works so well and I don't get any money for saying this. Travis over at Shop Nation designs and 3D prints different dust ports for different miter saws, which significantly improves the dust collection for those miter saws. I got this one for my Bosch GCM 12SD miter saw, and it has greatly improved the dust collection. I'm trying to figure out what you're supposed to do when you're on fire again. You come for the woodworking and you stay for the dad jokes. Please don't leave. This stop block was really easy to make. I just took some wood, I used white oak because I had it lying around, and I cut a groove in the middle so that I can attach a star knob. Okay, I think it's time to see what this bad boy can do. Yes, having tools with better dust collection and getting a dust collector costs money, but I would really recommend not waiting as long as I did to improve the dust collection in your shop. Even if you only do a handful of projects each year, you only get one set of lungs, so take care of them. If you liked this video, I really think you'll like the one that I have here. And remember, be kind, be awesome.